everybody, welcome to the Creativity Cave, and I've got another edition of Friday Quickies, Techniques, and Tips. Look at this gorgeous card. I am so excited about it because it has a really neat technique that I've been working on, and I hope you'll like it too. Now, the technique is kind of a cool thing. It's sort of I like to call it faux resist, because normally when we do resist, we stamp something, we emboss it, heat emboss it, and then we stamp on top of it or put color on top of it or whatever, and then it resists through. So that's traditional resist. But this is faux resist because I'm not going to emboss. And the reason is mostly because I'm lazy. So let me show you how I did this. First of all, I'm using two stamp sets. The first is the new Party Wishes, which is where I got the cake and the candles and the saying. The other stamp set that I'm using is Work of Art, and this has been around for a little while, and I love this set. It's so great, and my favorite part is that it has chevron in it, so we're going to use the chevron. Now, to do this technique, what I'm going to do is take a scrap of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp some white chevrons in the background, and then I'll stamp the cake over the top. But if you look at my cake, can you see that little smudge? That's an O blank, 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 right? So I've done this a million times before where the card is perfect except that little smudge right there. And there's really not much you can do to get rid of it. So let me show you how to fix that problem. So here's my stamp, and you can see it's a great brand new stamp. Wonderful. However, normally what I do is I take my stamps and I cut around them. And I was so excited to try this out. I didn't do that part. So let's do it right now. So to trim your rubber, you want to be very careful to not undercut like this, where the scissors are at an angle and you're literally cutting off underneath it. That would be bad. If anything, do it the opposite way so you have a little extra padding. That part is not as critical as if you were cutting a photopolymer stamp. So I'm just snipping out some of the excess. Sometimes I don't even cut all the way through the foam. I just cut the rubber and leave that foam layer there, because again, you want a wider base of the foam than the rubber. And then this way it ensures that I'm not undercutting my stamp, because I really don't want to do that. That is plenty of experience talking. Now, if you've been around Stampin' Up, back in the olden days, we had to cut our stamps out entirely. They weren't even die cut like they are here. And so we had these awesome scissors. These are called craft and rubber scissors, and many of you have them. They're really great for use on lots of different things, but this is their primary purpose. So I've gone around and cut all of the things off that I think will be a problem. Okay, I'm always careful when I do this because I never want to cut on the actual stamp image itself, because of course that would ruin it. Okay, then I'm going to place it on my block. And by the way, I have people ask me this quite a bit. I never put the labels on my stamps, and the reason is because they stick 10 billion times better. And if I wanted to get my stamps to stick with the label, I could put some glue on the label and let it dry, and then take that label and stick it on my clear block. However, because I teach classes and I'm interchanging stamps constantly, it's just too much goo on my blocks, and I just don't want to do it, and I'm lazy, because I think we started this video off with that fact. So anyway, that is why I did that. Okay. Now, I will tell you that my scissor cutting techniques are pretty awesome because I have a degree in biology and I have dissected all kinds of animals, so I dissect stamps too. All right, let me show you how I did this. So I'm going to come back with my white ink pad and my chevron stamp. You can see I've cut this one out really well too, and you can see it's also been used quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is just stamp this a couple of times. And now, if I've taught you nothing, it's that you stick your butt out when you stamp, right? So I'm getting down in here so that I can see where I'm going with this. so that my chevrons are mostly lined up, and I will stamp them 3 times just to be sure. Now this technique works the very best when you have a nice wet ink for your white as well as for the color you're putting on. You don't want a dry ink pad for either. Okay, so then I'm going to stamp my cake right over the top of those chevron lines. And look at that. How super awesome is that? Okay, you can see it right through. You can also take a tissue, make sure it's clean. You can see I've used this on a couple other colors. And you can wipe this off carefully. You don't want to swirl it around too much because you will, like the ink can go places. It will smear is what I'm trying to say because that white is still wet. But anyway, so there it is. Now I'm going to ink my candles, and I have a little trick for the candles. I'm going to use my handy Post-it, and I'm just going to cut this in half, and basically all I'm left with is the sticky. And I'm going to put that right over the top of my candles, the flamey part. And the reason I'm doing that, and pardon me for bringing this so close, but some of us aren't 39 anymore, and our eyes are changing. I know, I'm upset too. Okay, so I've got my Post-it over this. I'm going to ink it up in the pink ink, and then it came off. It's always important to take that off before you stamp it down. Then I'll use my marker and color in the flames. So I have Daffodil Delight, and I'll stamp this right over the top. And again, I'm sticking my butt out so I can see where I'm stamping it, and it's perfect, of course, because let me tell you, my tips work. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, by the way, did we notice that the edge did not catch? See, it's clean. Yay! Okay, then we're going to come and use this greeting. I couldn't think of that word. I'm going to use another Post-it, this time a bigger one. I'm going to go right over the top of the For You, and then I'm going to use Basic Gray, pull that off, and then I'm going to ink this up by only inking on the words, okay? So to do that, I'm really getting down in there and looking to see where I'm going with my ink. Okay, let me turn it so you can see where I've inked. I think I did a pretty good job of that. Okay, the truth will come out in just a second here when I stamp it down. Ha-ha! Perfect, because that's how I roll. All right, now this card is adorable as is, but what we need to do is add some cute little flowers. I punched these out with the Tree Builder punch, a little flower right there. And to really get these good and cute, what I'm going to do is bring in my little poking pad. And I've got a stylus tool that I'm just going to smush the center down in, because then that makes them kind of dimensional. And then because the 4 don't quite fit across, but if you smush them a little, they do. So then I'll take my glue dots and adhere them. Now, I know what you're thinking. This card is just so awesome. And you are right, it is. But how do you make your very own, or where do you get the supplies? Well, all the lists of everything I used will be on my blog, as well as close-up pictures of this. Oh my gosh, it's the last glue dot. Close-up pictures of this card, along with the dimensions and everything. Okay, now, by the way, look at my hands. It's been a really good, productive day. And by the way, I've washed them like 4 times, but I'm a mess. All right, so then I'm going to layer this up on a couple of layers of cardstock, like so, and adhere them together. I also embossed the chevron background embossing folder on a quarter sheet of cardstock, and then I'll adhere it to my card. And to put all that together, I also am going to stick some rhinestones in the center, and then it will look like this without the mark. See, now I don't have to hold my card like this. Anyway, let me show you a few more projects that I've made with this technique. because they're awesome, of course. So here's another one. And look, I got a little thing, so I'll just hold it like this. You can't see it. So this is the Beautiful Bunch stamp set in the Fun Flower Punch. This is the wood grain background stamp. Okay, so instead of the chevron stamp, I did a whole background stamp. I also used the Dots All Day stamp quite a few times. Let me show you one of those. Now here's where I learned about the wet ink. So I thought I'd be super smart and stamp up a whole bunch of things in white ink and then let them dry and then come back and stamp on top of them. Well, it turns out that it works better wet. So I did this dry, and then this is the wet one. And can you see how much better you can see the dots on this card? So you can see them there, but you can barely see them here. They're much more vivid on this one. This one was used with wet white ink versus letting the background dry first. So that's kind of where that came from. Here's a fun little sunshine. Here is a butterfly. The background is one, and this is another stamp. Here is the hardwood background stamp. That's, you know, the wood grain hardwood. Isn't this pretty? I like that one a lot. This is the polka dots again. So cute. This one is kind of my favorite because the color combo is awesome. But this is the treat bag. Something about a treat. Stamp-a-bag. Okay. Stamp-a-bag, and the chevron and the dots are all in that stamp set. So just love it. And then look at the wink of Stella on all these flowers. Love it. Anyway, oh, I've got one more. This one also used the wood grain, the hardwood background stamp. Very, very awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please go to my blog, The Creativity Cave. The link will be in the description of this video, and you can check out all of the awesome cards that I've just shown you here, as well as links to purchase all these items. And we certainly appreciate your business. And when you purchase from me, you become a Creativity Cave VIP, and there's all kinds of fabulous benefits that you can find out all about on my blog. Thank you so much, guys. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.